The cold steel of the knife bit into my throat before I even registered the shadow behind me. My brother's voice, twisted, unrecognizable, whispered, "This is for the family, Peyton. You should have just kept paying." And then the world went black, my blood pooling on the kitchen floor of the very home I'd bled for, dollar by dollar, in secret silence. But death isn't the end, it's a goddamn reset button. I woke up gasping, not in that blood-soaked hell, but in my old apartment, 3 years earlier, the alarm clock blaring 7:15 a.m. on a Tuesday in 2022. My hands flew to my neck, smooth, unmarked, and I bolted upright, heart hammering like I'd just run a marathon through hell.
重生
Reborn. Whatever you call it, I was back, and this time, I wasn't playing the fool. Chicago's South Side never changes. Gritty streets lined with brick row houses that look like they've seen better days, the L train rumbling overhead like a perpetual migraine. I was 25 then, fresh out of community college with a crappy data entry job at a logistics firm downtown, pulling $42,000 a year before taxes. My family, mom, dad, and my brother Jake lived in a crumbling 3-bedroom in Englewood, the kind of place where sirens are your lullaby and hope comes in eviction notices. I'd grown up there, dodging bullets both literal and figurative, watching dad's construction gigs dry up after the recession, mom's nursing shifts turning her into a ghost who chain-smoked menthols to stay awake. They never knew how bad it got for me. After college, I moved out to a shoebox studio in Pilsen, the rent eating half my paycheck. But one night, I overheard Mom on the phone, sobbing about the electric bill, Jake yelling about dropping out of high school again. Something snapped. I started wiring money, anonymously at first through apps like Venmo disguised as friend gifts, then straight to the utility companies. 500 here, 300 there. By the end of year one, it was my entire savings, then dipping into overtime. I told myself it was temporary. Family sticks together, right? That's the American dream they sell you. Pull yourself up, then drag everyone else along. Bullshit. I learned that the hard way in my first life. Or death. Whatever. That knife? Jake's handiwork, but it was Mom who planned it. Dad just watched, too doped on painkillers from his back injury that never quite healed. Turns out, they'd been skimming my anonymous payments, funneling them into a side hustle. Jake's entrepreneurial weed operation that escalated to fentanyl-laced pills when the margins got tight. I discovered it too late, stumbled on their ledger in the basement, the one listing my contributions as Peyton's cut. They panicked, said I was interfering. So they ended me, staged it as a home invasion, collected on my life insurance, $250,000, enough to buy their way out of the game. Now, back in this body, young and unbroken, I stared at my reflection in the cracked bathroom mirror. Same hazel eyes, same frizzy brown curls I could never tame, same faint scar on my chin from that time Jake pushed me off the porch swing. But the fire in my gut? That was new. Or old. Refined. Like whiskey aged in revenge barrels. I wouldn't pay a dime this time. I'd watch them squirm, expose every rotten layer, and when the moment came, I'd twist the knife, metaphorically. No more Martyr Peyton. This was payback, pure and simple. First things first. Fortify the fortress. I called in sick to work, first time ever, and spent the day shredding every financial tie. Canceled the auto payments I'd set up to their accounts, hacked my own browser history to erase the trails. Then I opened a new savings account at a credit union up in Evanston, far from the South Side web. Every paycheck from here on out. Locked down, untouchable. I even changed my phone number, forwarding calls to a burner app that let me eavesdrop without engaging. By evening, the texts started rolling in. Mom, hey baby girl, you okay? Heard you're under the weather. Jake, yo, sis, need a ride to the dock? Dad, proud of you, kiddo. Call us. I let them pile up, unread, a digital graveyard of their fake concern. I knew the script. In a week, the bills would hit, ComEd for the power, People's Gas for the heat, that leaky mortgage from Chase. They'd scramble, pawn what they could, then the real desperation would kick in. Sleep didn't come easy that night. Dreams bled into memories, Christmases where I'd slip 20s into their stockings, pretending Santa was real. Birthdays where Jake borrowed my car and totaled it, Mom covering with lies to the cops. I'd always forgiven. Always. That's what good daughters do, right? Suck it up, keep the peace. But peace is a lie when it's built on your back. Week 2, I dipped a toe back into the world. Showed up at work, all smiles and just a bug. Buried myself in spreadsheets to drown out the what-ifs. My boss, Mr. Hargrove, a balding ex-Marine with a soft spot for strays, noticed the edge in my eyes. "You look like you've seen a ghost, Ramirez," he grunted over lukewarm coffee in the break room. Peyton Ramirez, that's me, half Mexican from Mom's side. The rest a mutt's mix that never quite fit anywhere. "Just family stuff," I muttered, stirring sugar into my mug until it dissolved like my resolve never would. He nodded, wise not to pry. "Family's a battlefield. Pick your battles, kid." Oh, I had. This one was nuclear. The first crack appeared on a drizzly Thursday. I was grabbing takeout from that halal spot on Halstead when my burner buzzed, a voicemail from Mom. Voice cracking like thin ice. "Peyton, honey? The lights flickered last night. Jake says maybe a surge, but we might need to call someone. You got any extra this month?" Extra. As if my scraps were their lifeline. I deleted it, but not before a smirk tugged at my lips. Let the darkness creep in. By month's end, the calls turned frantic. Jake cornered me outside my building. How he found the address, I'll never know, but Southside networks run deep. He looked the same as always. Lanky, tattooed arms peeking from a hoodie 2 sizes too big, eyes darting like he owed the devil. "Sis, what's good? Mom's trippin'. Bills stacking up. You know how it is." I leaned against the buzzer, arms crossed, rain slicking my jacket. "How it is? Enlighten me, Jake." He shifted, that boyish grin flashing, the one that used to melt me. "Come on, pay. You're killin' it downtown. Hook a brother up? Just this once." This once. The lie that started it all. In my first life, I'd caved. Wired $800 that night, watched him blow it on product that poisoned half the block. Kids dead, family shattered, and me footing the bill. "Nah," I said, voice steel. "Figured out. Like I do." His face twisted, hurt, then anger flickering like a short fuse. "What? You too good for us now? After everything?" Everything. The word hung heavy, loaded with ghosts. I stepped closer, close enough to smell the weed on his breath. "Everything?" "Yeah. Remember that time you borrowed my tuition money for your business? Or when Dad's truck got repossessed because you crashed it joyriding? I've been carrying you all since I was 18. Time to drop the load." He recoiled like I'd slapped him. "Fuck you, Peyton. You're gonna regret this." The threat landed soft, but I felt the echo of that kitchen floor, the knife's chill. "Try me," I whispered, then buzzed myself in, leaving him in the downpour. That night, alone with a frozen pizza and a bottle of cheap Malbec, I plotted. Revenge isn't a sprint, it's a siege. Step 1, starve them out. Step 2, dig up the dirt. I'd always suspected their side gigs went beyond odd jobs. Dad's overtime at sites that didn't exist, Mom's tips from patients who couldn't afford them. In my past life, I'd ignored the signs, too buried in guilt. Not now. I fired up my laptop, dove into public records, LinkedIn scraps, even that shady dark web forum for Chicago Whispers. What I found? A vein of rot. Dad's name on a 2019 lien for unpaid contractor fees, $15K to a supplier he'd ghosted. Mom's nursing license flagged for irregularities at her hospital, whispers of pilfered meds. And Jake? Busted twice for possession, deals cut with the judge's nephew to skate free. But the real bomb, a joint account, buried under Mom's maiden name, siphoning donations from churchgoers, extortion dressed as tithing. They'd been bleeding the neighborhood dry, using my money as the glue. My hands shook as I screenshotted it all. This wasn't just greed, it was a machine, grinding lives to dust. And I'd oiled it. No more. The breaking point came mid-November, leaves rotting on sidewalks like forgotten promises. I got a call from Aunt Rosa, Mom's sister, the only one who'd ever treated me like more than a wallet. Mija, your mama's in a state. House is freezing. They can't pay heat. Jake's talking crazy, saying you're cutting them off on purpose. I gripped the phone, staring out at the loop's neon haze from my bus seat. Not cutting off, Tia. Just stopping the bleed. They need to stand up. She sighed, the weight of generations in it. Family's blood, Peyton. Thicker than water? Lies? Their own shit. The words spilled bitter. I died for them, Tia. In ways you can't imagine. Silence then. Come for Thanksgiving. See for yourself. I hung up, while rising. Thanksgiving. The holiday of gratitude, where we'd pretend the dysfunction was spice. In my first life, that was the night they struck, lured me over with turkey lies, then the blade. This time, I'd go. But armed with truth, not forgiveness. As the city blurred past, I felt the tension coil tighter. The siege was on, and the walls were cracking. But cracks let in light, or let out screams. Either way, the truth was coming, and it would burn. Thanksgiving morning dawned gray and unforgiving, the kind of Chicago cold that seeps into your bones and stays there, whispering doubts. I packed light, a backpack with my laptop, the printed dossiers, and a can of pepper spray tucked in the side pocket. No knife for me. That was their style. Mine was precision, the slow carve of exposure. As I hopped the Red Line south, family shuffled by with Tupperware of tamales and pies, chattering about football scores and Black Friday steals. Normalcy. The word tasted like ash. The house looked smaller than I remembered, shabbier, peeling paint on the siding, weeds choking the chain-link fence. Mom flung open the door before I could knock, her hug bone-tight, reeking of stale cigarettes and desperation. Peyton, my girl, we thought you forgot us. Forgot? I'd etched them into my soul with acid. Work's been crazy, Mom. You know how it is. She pulled back, eyes scanning me like inventory. Jeans from Target, thrift store sweater, the cheap watch I'd bought myself after the last bailout. You look good. Healthy.
Come in.
Your father's firing up the bird. Inside, the air was thick with onions and regret. Dad hunched over the oven in his grease-stained flannel, back to me, muttering curses at the ancient gas range. Jake slouched on the couch, scrolling his phone, a fresh black eye blooming under his left socket. Bar fight, probably, or a deal gone sideways. Sup, he grunted, not looking up. Aunt Rosa bustled from the kitchen, her silver-streaked bun impeccable, apron dusted with flour. She pressed a kiss to my cheek, whispering, "Be gentle, Mija. They're fragile." Fragile. Like the lies they'd built their empire on. We settled around the formica table, the one scar from a hot iron because Mom needed it flat for crafts. Turkey carved uneven, mashed potatoes lumpy from the cheap instant brand, green beans limp in a can's juice. Small talk flowed like bad wine. Whether my promotion I invented on the spot, Jake's vague job interview at a warehouse. Then Dad cleared his throat, fork scraping plate. Peyton, we, appreciate you. Always have. But things are tight. Recession hittin' hard.
Tight.
The word ignited something feral. I set down my glass, the plastic tumbler thudding soft. Tight how? You still got the house, right? Mom's shifts. Mom jumped in, too quick. Shifts are cut back, baby. Hospitals, laying off. And Jake's truck payment. Jake's truck. I laughed, sharp as broken glass. The one he wrapped around a pole last summer? Thought insurance covered that. Jake's head snapped up, eyes narrowing. What the hell, pay? You spyin' now. Dad's face reddened, veins bulging like rivers on a map. Watch your tone, son. Peyton's family. Family, I echoed, leaning back. The room felt smaller, walls pressing in with memories, holidays where I'd slip cash under plates, birthdays where gifts were IOUs. That's rich. You know, I used to think that too. Used to wire money every month, cover your asses so you wouldn't end up on the street. Silence dropped like a guillotine. Mom's fork clattered.
What? You. How?
Anonymous donor, I said, voice steady.
Me.
For 3 years. Utilities, mortgage, even that medical bill for Dad's phantom back. Over $50,000. And what did I get? A pat on the head and another borrow from Jake. Jake surged up, chair scraping. You lyin'. We never asked. You didn't have to. I met his gaze, saw the flicker. Guilt?
Fear?
Because I was the good little sister. The fixer. But fixers burn out, Jake. And I'm done. Dad's hand trembled on his water glass. Peyton, honey, we didn't know. If we'd known. I pulled the stack from my backpack, slapping it on the table, printouts, bank statements, the church extortion logs. Pages fanned like a bad hand in poker. You knew plenty. Like how you donated my money to Father Ruiz's relief fund. The one that lined your pockets. Or Mom's tips that were really opioids rerouted from the ER. Jake's baggies in the basement, cut with enough fent to drop an elephant. Aunt Rosa gasped, hand to mouth. Mom went white as the tablecloth, eyes darting to the door like a trapped animal.
That's
not. Save it. I flipped to the ledger photo, my contribution circled in red. Exhibit A, Peyton's cut. You even budgeted me like a line item. And when I found out, in my head anyway, you planned to silence me. Knife in the kitchen, staged break-in. Life insurance payout. Neat, huh? The lie twisted on their faces, shock morphing to calculation. Jake lunged for the papers, but I snatched them back, pepper spray half drawn. Touch me, and it's 911, with photos. Dad slumped, whispering, we wouldn't. Peyton, you're our blood. Blood. The word cracked me open raw. Blood washes off floors easy, Dad.
You taught me that.
Aunt Rosa stood, voice quaking. Enough. This family's poisoned. Peyton, go. I'll handle.
No.
Mom's whisper cut through, rising to a wail. You can't leave us like this. We're sorry. We'll change.
Change.
The dirtiest word in the American gospel. Promise it. Never deliver. I zipped my bag, standing tall. Too late for sorry. Cops get the originals tomorrow. Anonymous tip, like your donor. Jake snarled. You bitch. Ruining us for what? Your fancy life. My life, I shot back, starts now. Without you dragging it down. I walked out into the sleet, their shouts chasing me like baying hounds. Peyton, come back. But the door slammed final, the lock clicking like fate's verdict. The train ride north was a blur, adrenaline crashing into exhaustion. I crashed at Rose's, her spare room in Hyde Park, bookshelves groaning with dog-eared novels and Saint candles flickering against the chill. She brewed chamomile, sat me down with a quilt over my knees. You did right, Mija.
But truth like that.
It scars. Scars. I traced the one on my chin, Jake's old gift. They scarred me first.
Deeper.
She nodded, eyes ancient. And now, what's next for Peyton Ramirez? Phoenix from the ashes? Rebirth. The word hummed. Next, leverage. I spent the weekend holed up, emailing tips to the CPD's fraud unit, CCNG the Sun-Times with sources say vagueness. By Monday, the headlines trickled. Southside church scandal. Extortion ring exposed. My family? Radio silence, but I knew the storm brewing, warrants, interrogations, the slow grind of justice. Work became my anchor. Hargrove pulled me aside after a killer quarter, my spreadsheets tighter than ever, fueled by fury. Ramirez, you're a machine. How about junior analyst? Bump to 55K. I blinked, the offer landing like sunlight after eclipse. Seriously? Dead serious. You earned it. His grin was genuine, no strings. For the first time, success felt mine, not borrowed, not bled for others. But peace? Fleeting. Late December, a knock shattered it. Jake, alone on my stoop, bruised knuckles, hoodie zipped to his chin against the wind.
Pay.
We gotta talk. I cracked the door, chain on. Cops, Jake. That's your talk now. He pressed a palm to the frame, desperate. They grilled us. Mom suspended. Dad's facing leans. It's falling apart. Pause, eyes pleading, the kid brother I'd buried for. But I didn't know about the knife thing. That was their idea. Crazy talk after too many drinks. Lie or truth? My gut twisted. In my death dream, his hand on the hilt was clear. Doesn't matter. You profited. He swallowed hard.
Yeah, I did.
But listen, there's more. Something you don't know. He glanced over his shoulder, voice dropping. Dad's not just dodging bills. He's got ties to the crew up in Austin, big players. They think you snitched, not us. They're coming for you. Ice flooded my veins. Twist one. The machine bigger than I'd mapped. Why tell me? Because you're all I got left. His eyes, wet now, held a fracture. And maybe I owe you. I unchained the door, letting him in against every screaming instinct. We sat at my tiny table, steam rising from mismatched mugs of coffee black as sin. He spilled. Dad's construction gigs were fronts for laundering. Millions cycling through fake renos for the Latin Kings splinter group. Mom turned a blind eye. Jake ran mules. My payments? The perfect clean cash infusion. And the church. I pressed. Cover. Father Ruiz is in deep schemes for protection money. The web widened, sticky with venom. Proof. He slid a thumb drive across. Burner phone logs. Enough to bury them all. I pocketed it, mind racing. Gift or grenade? Why now? He shrugged, defeated. Saw your face at Thanksgiving.
Realized.
We broke you. And I can't fix that. But I can end it. We talked till dawn, halting confessions, half apologies. Jake, at 19, wasn't irredeemable, just molded wrong. I gave him a bus ticket to Milwaukee, and up there who'd take strays. Start over. Don't look back. He hugged me awkward, then gone. Dawn broke bloody, painting the skyline in fire. New Year's Eve, I toasted alone, champagne from the corner bodega, view of fireworks exploding over the lake. Freedom tasted sharp but hollow. The tips I'd sent? Bearing fruit. Feds raided the church, Dad in cuffs on Channel 7, Mom's mugshot pale and pinched. Justice served cold. But Jake's warning nod. Mid-January, shadows multiplied, tires slashed on my Corolla, hang-ups on the landline. The crew, they smelled blood. Hargrove noticed the jumpiness. Trouble. Old ghosts, I said, but promoted to analyst, I dove deeper. Corporate ledgers, not family sins. Stability, finally. Then Valentine's, irony's cruel joke, an envelope under my wiper. No note, just a photo. Me leaving roses, time-stamped. Back of the frame, a knife silhouette, etched crude. They were close. Too close. I called in the big guns. A PI from Craigslist, ex-cop named Lenny with a gut and a grudge. $2,000 from my bump, worth every penny. Track M, I said. Quiet. As winter clawed on, I armored up, new locks, self-defense classes at the Y, a Glock permit in process. Peyton 2.0 wasn't prey. But the coil tightened, spring lurking. One night, scrolling news, a blip. Englewood shooting, church elder gunned down. Father Ruiz. Retaliation. My hands iced the screen. The war was on and I was ground zero. February thawed into March with the sluggishness of a hangover, Chicago shaking off winter like a dog with fleas, potholes flooding, winds still biting, but promise in the air.
Mean?
Shattered. Lenny's reports piled up, tails on my routes, burners pinging towers near my block. The Austin crew, remnants of the Kings, rebranded as logistics consultants, didn't forgive snitches. Dad's arrest had cracked their facade, and they pinned the leak on me, the ghost in the machine. I upped the ante. Met Lenny in a Wrigleyville diner, the kind with vinyl booths cracked like old skin and waitresses calling you Han. He slid a manila folder over greasy placemats. Your pops? Singing like Sinatra for a deal. Names the whole ring. Ruiz was the bagman. But these Austin cats?
Ghosts.
Offshore wires, Shell in Delaware. Entry point. I sipped coffee, black, watching a Cubs fan in a faded jersey holler at the TV. Here. He tapped a printout. IP logs from a VPN hit on my anonymous tips. Someone inside the feds?
Or a mole.
Either way, they trace the scent back to you.
Me.
The fixer turned felon in their eyes. Plan. Lenny's eyes crinkled, cigar stub clenched. Feds owe me favors. I feed, and the thumb drive. Point at Austin. You disappear. New city, new name. Peyton Ramirez fades. Fade? The word stuck like tar. I'd rebuilt once, from death's grip. Now exile? But survival's the ultimate revenge. I nodded, paid cash, walked out into slush that sucked at my boots. Home, my shoebox sanctuary, felt like a cage. I packed essentials. Laptop, the Glock, finally approved, heavy in my purse like judgment, photos of Abuela I'd salvaged from Mom's drawer. Jake texted from Milwaukee, holding.
You good?
I replied, better. Stay low. Trust flickered, fragile as new leaves. The confrontation brewed inevitable. April Fools, poetic, really. A black SUV idled outside my building, tinted windows like voids. I spotted it from the fire escape, heart jackhammering. No time for subtlety. I dialed Lenny. Now or never. He mobilized. Unmarked cruiser, 2 plainclothes feds staking out. But the crew moved fast. 2 goons piled out. Hoodies up, one palming a piece under his jacket. They buzzed my neighbor, wrong apartment, sloppy, desperate. I slipped out the back, alley reeking of garbage and regret, Glock sweaty in my grip. Shadows danced under sodium lamps, the L rattling distant thunder. Footsteps echoed close. Too close. Ramirez, a gravel voice, accented thick from south of the border. We talk. I spun. Aiming center mass, self-defense, 101, steady breath.
Talk from there.
Who sent you? The leader, stocky, scar bisecting his brow, chuckled low. Your old man. Says you the rat. Time to pay.
Pay.
Echoes of a lifetime. Dad's rotting in Cook County. Tell him hello from hell. His partner's hand twitched, bad move. I fired warning. The crack splitting night, bullet pinging brick. They scattered, tires screeching as the SUV peeled out. Sirens wailed symphony. Lenny's cavalry. Feds swarmed, cuffs clicking on the stragglers. Turns out, the leader was mid-level, Ramon El Lobo Vargas, Dad's Austin link. His phone? Goldmine, text to Dad. Handle the girl, or we do. Proof of conspiracy, attempted hit. By dawn, I was in a safe house up in Rogers Park, government issue bland, but secure. Lenny grinned over donuts. You're a ghost now, kid. New ID. Peyton Harlow, Seattle. Tech job lined up. Hargrove pulled strings, said you're relocating for growth. Peyton. Close enough to haunt. And them. Feds rolling up the op Austin by week's end. Your family's done. Accessory to murder for hire at minimum. Murder. The word circled back to that kitchen floor. The knife's bite. Closure? Or just another layer peeled? Visitation day. I went alone. Cook County Jail, the air metallic with despair, inmates shuffling in orange like damned souls. Dad through plexiglass, older, gaunt, eyes hollowed. Peyton, you came. Not for you, I said, receiver cold against my ear. For me, to see the end. He leaned in, breath fogging the divide. We were desperate. The money. It was survival. Survival. Laughter bubbled bitter. You killed for it. Planned to kill me. His face crumpled. Jake told you? It was a bluff. Heat of the moment. Bluff. The lie landed limp. Doesn't matter. You're done bleeding people. Mom next, segregated wing. White collar fraud her tag. She sobbed, makeup rivers. Forgive us, baby. We love you. Love. The ugliest mask. Love doesn't cut throats. It builds. Try learning. I left without looking back, the clang of gates sealing chapters. Jake met me at a neutral diner, O'Hare bound, duffel at his feet. Clean-shaven, eyes clearer. Trade school up north. Welding. Straight life. Pride flickered, unbidden.
Good.
Don't fuck it. He nodded. Awkward hug. Thanks, sis. For the ticket.
4.
Seeing me. Twist 2. Redemption's not zero-sum. He wasn't them. Not entirely. Seattle hit like a fresh start. Emerald Hills. Coffee that didn't taste like regret. A studio overlooking Puget Sound where seals barked at dawn. Hargrove's Connect landed me at a startup. Data analyst, 70K, remote options. Co-workers with tattoos and dreams, not debts. I dated a barista named Theo. Easy laughs over IPAs, no baggage. But ghosts whisper. May a package arrived, no sender, brown paper crinkled. Inside, mom's rosary, beads chipped, note in her scrawl. Blood calls to blood.
We're sorry.
I burned it on my balcony, ashes scattering to the tide. June, headlines confirmed. Austin bust, 22 indicted, million seized. Dad got 25, to life. Mom, 15 with parole.
Jake?
Witness protection light, new name, new zip. Rosa visited once, hugs and tears. You're free, Mija.
Fly. Free.
The word settled, light as fog burning off. Yet the controversial call lingered, the one that haunted ethics classes I'd skipped. In the safe house, Lenny asked, why not take the deal? Immunity, testify, walk clean. I'd refused. They go down full. No half measures. Gave the feds everything, logs, ledgers, Jake's drive. But the twist? I held back one file. Dad's offshore contact, a Politico in Springfield with Senate whispers. Leaked it to ProPublica, anonymously. Boom, scandal, resignations, the machine ground finer. Controversial? Hell yes. Vigilante justice, they called it on podcasts. Peyton Harlow, hero or hack? Debates raged, my face blurred in stories. I watched from afar, sipping Pinot, Theo's arm around me. You stirred the pot, he said, half admiring. Pot needed stirring, I replied. America's built on it. Revolution, remember? Summer waned. Peyton Ramirez a memory. Peyton Harlow blooming. I ran trails at Discovery Park, waves crashing like applause. Wrote a blog, anonymous, cathartic, on family ties that bind too tight. Comments flooded. Survivors cheering, critics decrying betrayal. Betrayal. The blade cuts both ways. Mine scarred deep, but healed crooked, stronger, jagged. Fall brought harvest. Promotion. Theo's ring on my finger tentative. Jake's Christmas card. Straight A's in shop. Miss you, sis. Rosa's, proud. Always. And me? On a crisp November eve, 3 years to the day of my death, I stood on a pier, wind whipping curls free. The hook of rebirth, that gasp in 2022, felt distant, a dream's echo. I'd cut the cords, exposed the rot, danced with devils, and walked away. Was it happy? Not fairy tale. No bows, just battles won. But in the American grit, South Side to Sound, I'd forged something true. Myself. The end?
Nah.
Just the twist where the betrayed becomes the breaker. And damn, it felt good.